Yes, good evening, Harita. Good evening, all. Can you hear me, Harita? His voice is clear? Yes. In the last class, we went up to US begins. Yes. US begins formal pullout. Yes. US begins formal pullout from the Paris deal. This was the last topic. Just I will be a quick revision. Then I will enter into the other current affairs, environment related current affairs. The US has begun the process of withdrawing from the Paris Agreement by notifying the UN of its intention to leave. So the main crux of this particular topic is United States of America want to come out of the Paris deal. United States of America recently, the Trump, the president of USA, told that because of the Paris deal, their economy, their investors has lost their confidence into investing into USA. Hence, they want to come out of the Paris deal in order to boost up their economy. So why USA withdraw from the Paris deal? US was concerned about the economic impact of agreeing to the Paris deal. Mainly they are bothered about the economic growth. They are not bothered about the global commons. They are not bothered about the global challenges. Climate change is one of the biggest global challenges which is faced. US president claimed the concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make US manufacturing non-competitive. US was unhappy about the unequal treatment meted out at the USA. USA is thinking that they are being treated unequally. They are being treated unequally, hence they want equal treatment. So US President claimed China will be allowed to build hundreds of additional coal plants. India will be allowed to double its coal production by 2020. Then why only America is not allowed to do so? By doing so, the China and the India will dominate the economy of the world and we will be retrograde. We will be backward. US argued that if US implements the regulations to comply with the agreement, it will severely affect the carbon-based industries in America. Consequently, its economy and quality of life will be disturbed. The quality of the economy and the quality of the life will be disturbed if they are going down with the Paris Agreement. An impact on India, Trump's withdrawal may not have any direct impact on India. However, it will affect India's future climate policies. Why? Because there is a green climate fund, and the green climate fund, India told that we are going to reduce 35% of the carbon emissions of 2005 by 2030. For that, we need to invest on renewable energy sources. For the sake of investing on renewable energy sources, we need to have a proper funding, and the proper funding should be provided with the by the developed world. Now, if USA is coming out of the Paris deal, if USA is part of Green Climate Fund, most of the fund will be given by the United States of America. If United States of America is coming out of the Green Climate Fund or Paris deal, then there will be fund crunch resource in India. So we cannot achieve the renewable targets. That is the thing. In order to attain this ambitious project, India needs to reduce its dependence on fossil fuels and invest in renewable sources. This Green Climate Fund will be affected a lot. This particular Green Climate Fund will be affected a lot. It might impact India's stake in future climate negotiations. If China dominates future negotiations, the ongoing tensions between the two nations will have a significant impact on India's place in such negotiations. So, if USA is going to withdraw, then the tensions between the India and the China will be increased. Why? Because China will be dominating, hence the tensions between the India and China will be escalated. However, it provides India an opportunity to lead future climate negotiations. But in spite of USA's withdrawal, if India is standing strong, if India want to continue to negotiate with respect to the climate change negotiations, then the stature of the India will grow like anything. Hence, it will become a leader with respect to climate negotiation in the future coming days. India should also expose the hypocrisy of China. If China is really bothered about climate change, then why they are going with one belt, one road initiative, comprehensive partnership agreement within the economic, and that means China Pakistan economic corridor. Why they are bothered about? Why they are making with China Pakistan economic corridor? By this, India want to escalate and India want to show the hypocrisy of China. So, at the seas comes closer. As the global warming is continuing and the effects of climate change are showing their true form, we are staring at the problem of sea level. So, what is the problem? Is sea level rising, and this has a potential to displace millions across the globe. The extent of the problem can be estimated from the fact that, according to the new estimates, the number of people threatened by the rising sea level is 7 times more than the previous study. Why this change? The previous system, which used NASA's Shuttle Radar Topographic Machine database, underestimated the land and the people affected by the sea level rise. Now there is a very drastic problem with respect to sea level rise, mainly the island countries, small island countries, oceanic island countries like Vanuatu, Nauru, Polynesia, Melanesia, Tuvalu, small island countries which are located in Oceania region, northeast of Australia. In that particular part of Oceania region, the small island countries are facing increase in rise in sea level, because of which the coastal areas are being submerged in this particular region. If the sea level is going to increase further, then the total small island nations are going to submerge under the increasing sea level. The emission of greenhouse gas has been increasing continuously, and even if we meet the ambitious targets set during the Paris Agreement, then also the global temperature will increase by 2 degrees Celsius by the end of this century. It implies that people living in the coastal areas between high and low tide line are at risk. As the sea level will rise, this will create multiple problems for the people. So, problem of food. Not only that, there is a problem of nutrition, fishing, millions of marine life will be affected. Hence, when the marine life is affected, then long run the food and nutrition for a big chunk of population, especially in Asia, who are dependent on, who are dependent on, who are dependent on the sea level, who are dependent on the sea level, they will be affected. They will be affected. Protecting the coast through measures such as natural barriers, leaves flood barriers and even the hard barriers. However, these engineering based methods would be expensive and will have a consequence for the coastline. So there might be a solutions like constructing a barriers, flood barriers, hard barriers, anicuts. But the problem is it is very high in construction cost, which will impact the economically. Stopping infrastructure construction along the coast and integrating anticipated sea level rise effects on coastal planning are essential. What is the solution required? What is the solution required means here there is a solution that there is a need for proper infrastructure planning at the coastal lands. If that is there, then everything will be there. Then SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This also we discussed properly. There will be disaster related mortality in SCO countries. Hence, they are coming up with a Shanghai Cooperation Organization joint exercise on urban earthquake and rescue in Delhi, where they are coming up with urban earthquake and rescue operations in Delhi. That was a thing which was been conducted by Shanghai Cooperation Organization. What are these Shanghai Cooperation Organization? 7 countries are there. Two case Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, big 2 countries, Russia and China. Other is Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. Apart from it, India and China is also one of the countries. Overall, how many countries are there? China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, India and China. Recently, India and China were being inculcated into Shanghai Cooperation Organization in the year 2017. These are the 8 countries which are part of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. There is RATS, regional anti-terrorism structure where it is located, Tashkent. Mainly in these countries where the problem is terrorism, separatism, and extremism. Those will be addressed by the regional anti-terrorism structure. Yes, very good. Yes, Sarita, 8 countries are there. True. Now, economic slowdown may lighten India's carbon burden. So, this is very. Economic slowdown may lighten India's carbon burden. Carbon dioxide emissions are poised to grow at their slowest. A 2% rise from last year since 2001 due to lower demand for coal in power and manufacturing sector. The rise in carbon dioxide. The rise in carbon dioxide emissions from India saw wild swing from 7.7% in 2014 to 3.5% next year and then back to 7.8% in 2018. This is the first time that emissions are expected to grow below 3% from the previous years. So there is a carbons are increasing and decreasing, which is directly impacting what? The economy of the nation. India's per capita emissions were about 40% of the global average and contributed 7% of the global carbon dioxide burden. The US, the largest emitter, contributed 14%, 14%, and we are contributing how much? 7%. Wind generation increased by 17% in the first 6 months of 2019 compared to the same period a year earlier, with solar power 30% and hydro increasing by 22%. So the focus on renewable sources, the source for renewable energy is increasing. The contribution for the power in the country is increasing from the renewable side. As per its commitments to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, India has promised to reduce the emission intensity of its economy by 33 to 35% of 2005 levels by 2030. It is also committed to having 40% of energy from renewable sources by 2030. If that target need to be achieved, then it's mandatory that we need to compromise on carbon emission. But when we are compromising on carbon emission, it is directly impacting the economic growth. So economic growth is directly proportional to the carbon emissions. Hence, the Paris deal where we agreed that 40% of our current and the power and the energy will be contributed from 40% of renewable energy by 2030 and 35% of the 2005 levels will be the target by 2030. These are the two targets which have been mentioned in the Paris deal. If we are compromising on the carbon emission, then who is going to affect means Indian economy is going to affect. Economy, alternative investment fund. So there is alternative investment funds, affordable and middle income group housing projects, mainly with respect to housing projects. These are all things we discussed in the last class. Yes, please go through it. So this is so mainly what you need to remember means alternative investment fund mainly to boost the housing sector, real estate sector. The fund size will be initial 25,000 crores. 10,000 crores will be given by the government and another 15,000 will be contributed by the SBI and LIC. Overall, the project amount is how much? 25,000 crores. For what? Mainly to push the real estate sector. Who is going to control it? SEBI is going to control it. According to government's estimates, there are more than 1600 housing projects in which 4.58 lakh crore units are stalled. Okay, I will tell, but it has been discussed in the last class. For okay, I will tell you, Aradhya, once, see, what is directly to the point, I will go, listen. Government came up with a new idea called as Alternative Investment Fund. Alternative Investment Fund mainly focusing on the real estate sector. The construction sector was been hampered because of lack of resources. So because of lack of resources, the construction sector was not growing at the level of what it can grow because of lack of resources. So there is a need for push, and further push, government came up with an idea called as Alternative Investment Fund. Alternative Investment Fund consists of 25,000 crores, of which 10,000 crores will be given by the government and another 15,000 will be contributed by the SBI and LIC. Both will come together and form a corpus amount of 25,000 crores. And this particular 25,000 crores, they will be pumping into the real estate sectors, into the construction sector, into the real estate sector, where the construction sector has been stalled. And with this pumping, the construction sector will be getting its impetus. It will be coming onto its line. It will be coming onto its track. So when it has been started, the government will be checking the selling and buying of the constructed houses. Hence, the government will be taking out its fund which is given to the construction sector. So mainly the focus of alternative investment fund is to focus on real estate and construction sector. The funds will be set up as a category 2 alternative investment fund registered with the SEBI and will be managed by the SBI Cap Ventures Limited. So overall 1600 housing projects, the amount of 4.58 lakh crore units are stopped. Yes. So eventually, what will happen? Eventually, parallelly with the construction sector, if it gets boosted, steel sector will be boosted, iron sector will be boosted, employment will be generated. So the economy, the engine of the economy, will be running on its level. So that is a major target of alternative investment fund. So by boosting the investment sector, by boosting the construction sector, the government want to focus on increasing the demand for the steel, cement and indirectly the employment so that the economy, the wheels of the economy will be running. Housing projects that have been classified, this is very, very important. The housing projects which have been classified as non-performing assets and who are being under the tribunal, who are being under the issues like National Company Law Tribunal, those can also be get funded from the alternative investment fund. Why? Because usually what we will think that non-performing assets or the projects which are under the ambit of judiciary under the tribunals like National Company Law Tribunals, they won't get any funds. Why? Because already they are into the legal spectrum, but that is not the case. If it is in the legal spectrum, if it is in the National Company Law Tribunal also, they will be getting the fund. If they are designated as non-performing asset also, they will be given the fund from the alternative investment fund, so that they will be coming out of the NPA, they will be coming out of the legal issues and they run up the construction sector. समझ में आया आराध्या? So the AI is expected to pull investments from other government-related and private investors, including public financial institutions, sovereign wealth funds, public and private banks, domestic pension, provident funds. So यहाँ से the money will be driven. यहाँ से the money will be pumped into alternative investment funds. The fund is therefore expected not only support the sector but also generate commercial return for its investors. Besides, revival of the sector will also lead to demand of cement, iron, and steel industries, giving further impetus to generate more employment. So this is the purpose of alternative investment fund. This is the purpose of alternative investment fund. The next topic is Cyclone Maha. There is a cyclone called as Maha. Batters Lakshadweep and Kerala coast. How are cyclones named? The World Meteorological Organization and Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, which is called as ESCAP. So this both will be naming the tropical cyclones which started in the year 2000. And the actual names they got from the year 2004. So it is not just Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea, it is also the Indian Ocean which has been getting the names. So the World Meteorological Organization, Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific Panel on Tropical Cyclones, at its 27th session held in 2000 in Muscat, Oman, agreed to assign names to the tropical cyclones in the Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. The naming of tropical cyclones over North Indian Ocean commenced from 2004. Earlier it was Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. From 2004 onwards, the naming was given to North Indian Ocean as well. The 8 countries along the Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea suggest names that are sequentially listed. The nation suggests names alphabetically: Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Myanmar, Oman, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Thailand. Regional specialized meteorological centers based here gives a tropical cyclone identification on the names listed. The identification system covers both the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. Now it is what? It is Indian Ocean as well. So for instance, Bangladesh suggested O'Neill for the first in the list. O'Neill originated Arabian Sea of the Gujarat coast between September to October 2004. The name, the forecasting of the name started from 2000, but the actual name is given in 2004 only. It made a landfall in the state but impacted both India and Pakistan. Which one? Onil. Onil tropical cyclone. The history of naming. The practice of naming the storm first started in the United States. Earlier, the storm was named after the coast it hit. Then the mid 1900s saw the start of practice of using feminine names for storms. In the pursuit of a more organized and efficient naming system, meteorologists later decided to identify storms using names from its least arranged alphabetically. So first it is started from United States of America. Second time when it started from United States of America, the first names, the initial names were given by on the names of females, women names. Then again alphabetical order they started giving names to this particular cyclone storms in United States of America. The same names are initiated into the Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea from 2000, but actual names are we are giving from 2004 onwards. Who is going to give? World Meteorological Organization and Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. This is the organization which is going to give the name for the tropical cyclone. Yes, paper one. So, unearthing an ancient civilization. In a significant development in the field of archaeology, Kiladi excavations near Madurai in Tamil Nadu have unearthed key missing links in the reconstruction of history of South India, particularly in the Megalithic period. Kiladi excavations. This article highlights the carbon dating results of Kiladi excavations, which points towards an existence of an advanced urban civilization called Vaigai Valley civilization during the Megalithic period. So there is a Vaigai civilization. Vaigai is a famous river. What are Kiladi excavations? Kiladi excavations are a landmark in the field of archaeology which has reinvigorated the process of construction of megalithic history of South India. Kiladi is a hamlet near Madurai in Tamil Nadu. Though there was India, that is Kiladi excavations. Prelims point of view, he will ask, Kiladi excavations mainly deals about what? Megalithic history of South India. Where? In Madurai region. In where? In South India, in Tamil Nadu. On which river? Vaigai river. Vaigai, famous river it is. Vaigai Valley excavations. Chawang Koot. Chawang Koot, the post-harvest festival of the Kuki, Chin, Mezo communities is being celebrated across northeastern states with traditional gaiety and enthusiasm. So Chawang Koot, the post-harvest festivals of the Kuki, Chin, Mezo communities. Prelims point of view, very, very important. Chawang Koot, which communities? Kuki community, Chin community, and Mizo communities. Like how we are celebrating the Pongal festival, how we are celebrating the uh, Baisakhi festival. Similarly, the northeastern people are celebrating their post-harvest festival. That festival name is what? Chawang Koot. The festival marks the Anglo-Kuki War centenary year. Chawang starts for autumn and Koot means harvest. The festival is observed to mark the end of the harvesting season and also to thank deities for a good harvest season. In Manipur, Mizoram and Assam and other parts of the country, the festival is organized every year on the first day of November month. It is a state holiday in Manipur. Manipur is home to 29 tribes and celebrates a number of traditional festivals. Such events not only highlight the vibrant colors of the region but also plays an important role in strengthening bonds between different tribes. The festival name is what? Chavangkut. Who is going to celebrate? Who is going to celebrate means Kuki, Chin and Mezo tribal communities are going to celebrate this particular festival, Chavangkut festival. Yes. Women is going to be inducted in army by the end of 2021. The first batch of 100 women will start training for the Corps of Military Police in December and will be inducted by end of 2021. Women will be inducted in a graded manner to eventually comprise 20% of total Corps of Military Police. And the role will range from probing crime cases to assisting the army in field operations wherever required. So far, women were being inducted only as officers, and this is the first time they would be joining the army as soldiers or personnel below officer rank. So they will be at the level of what? Officers. They will be working as soldiers. The army plans to induct 1700 women military police over 17 years. Inducting women in combat roles came up in 2015 after Defense Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced that the government has taken a historic decision to induct women in the military police with an aim to enhance their representation in the three services. According to government data, the army has 3.80% of its workforce as women. The Air Force has 13.09% and the Navy has 6%. In this way, it is mentioned. Next is Germany to invest 1 billion euro for green urban mobility. Green urban mobility. What is this urban green mobility? Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs unveiled much awaited Urban Green Mobility Scheme 2017 as the next phase of National Urban Renewal Mission. The ministry is already running Smart Cities Mission and Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation Amrut. However, these programs are focusing on urban infrastructure, mainly utilities. Therefore, there was a need to have a separate sustainable urban mobility scheme having pan-city coverage with emphasis on improving access of citizens. So it should be what? User friendly. Public transportation should be there. Urban transportation should be there. Movement of the people should be there. The movement of the people should be, but that particular movement should be environment friendly. Green it should be. That is green urban mobility or urban green mobility. The aim of the new urban green mobility scheme is to address infrastructure for bus-based transports, depots, maintenance facilities, infrastructure technology and systems, etc. Bring in private entrepreneurial spirit in operations, promote non-motorized transport, last mile connectivity, promote alternative fuels, electric mobility for better environment, focus on urban freight and address high fatalities of pedestrians. So this particular project is mainly focusing on this thing, urban transportation, mainly bus. By what? By taking the private approach of development, private entrepreneurial skills into the public transportation, by promoting what? Non-motorized transport. That means by using green, by using last mile connectivity, by using promoting alternative fuels, electric mobility for better environment, focus on urban freight and address high fatalities of pedestrians who are walking on the roads. They are being killed by the public transportation system. These all things are to be addressed by this particular urban green mobility. Ministry of Housing and Urban Amenity has announced the Green Mobility Scheme for 103 cities on 3rd November 2017 at Urban Mobility India 2017. The schemes call for the following reforms in the states: establishment and operationalization of Unified Metropolitan Transportation Authority, adoption and implementation of transit-oriented development, adoption and implementation of travel demand management measures, adoption and implementation of policy for urban street vendors, establishment of an urban transportation fund, adoption of an anti-encroachment policy to reclaim the right of way. So on the paths, on the waves, if there is any encroachments are there, those encroachments should be removed. These are present in Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Now, in this particular thing, what happened in November means Germany is investing 1 billion euros into India for the sake of green urban transportation. Yes. See, JENURAM is Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission, in which five things are present. So, one of our students asked one question: what is the difference between JENURAM and Amrut? What is the difference between JENURAM and Amrut? See here, there is National Urban Renewal Mission. Earlier, when the UPA government was there, the name is Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission, mainly focusing on five sectors. Janoram focus on five sectors. One is urban housing, urban infrastructure, sanitation, sanitation and water facility, drinking water facility, and sanitation, and it is with respect to the public transportation we completed, housing we completed, drinking water we completed, and sanitation we completed, and the fifth is with respect to wastage, waste disposal. how to dispose the waste. Whereas Amrut, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, Amrut, focusing on the model. Amrut mainly focus on providing all the amenities, providing all the amenities which are environment friendly, making citizen friendly efforts, like providing the pathways for disabled people. So that disabled people, making environment friendly, making disabled friendly, maybe make friendly by making it smart oriented, by making it disabled oriented, by making it woman oriented. Whereas Januvaram means, so that is the major difference between Januram and Amrut schemes. Amrut scheme means making it citizen friendly, making it disabled friendly, citizen friendly, female friendly, changing the transformation of the urban areas. Will be retrofitting of the ACs in the building. They will fix some temperature, and that temperature only they need to follow. That is also under the Amrut mission, mainly in government buildings. Retrofitting. Nomad Film Festival. The next is Nomad Film Festival. Nomad Film Festival. What is this? Nomad Film Festival. Challenging the stigma, changing the narrative is the motto of the Nomad Film Festival. One of India's most sharply focused, the festival is dedicated to showcasing films dealing with the denotified and nomadic tribes of the country. Very, very important. One of India's most sharply focused, one of India's most sharply focused, the festival is dedicated to showcasing films dealing with the denotified and nomadic tribes of the country, challenging the stigma, changing the narrative. So they have some stigma. That stigma will be challenged. Changing the narratives. They have some narrations. So that narratives will be changed. For example, denotified tribes. I will tell you one story. Denotified tribes are those tribes who are called as criminal tribes once upon a time. The British government, the British Indian government, whoever present in that particular community will be called as criminals. If the baby who is in the mother's womb, that baby is also called as criminal. Community will be designated as criminal tribes. So 1959, there is a Habitual Offenders Act of 1952, which changed the name from Criminal Tribes to Habitual Offenders Act. But still, these particular communities are having the stigma of criminal tribes. So there should not be any stigma associated to them. There are some narrations, there are some narratives with respect to this particular tribal communities. That narratives need to be changed. The idea is to harness cinema in directing focus on their struggles and problems, to change the mindset of people about them and help fight the slurs and blots associated with them. Misconception like they are criminal tribes, thieves, and lawbreakers. So the denotified and nomadic tribes of the country. The denotified and the nomadic tribes of the country will be addressed. The films would be about identity politics, but the larger aim is to help the tribal people find a strong creative voice. So the nomadic film festival mainly deals about mainly deals about this nomadic tribal people, denotified tribal people who have stigma, who have narratives, who are being discriminated. Those discrimination on this particular tribal population should be removed, and there should not be any identity politics like these people are denotified and nomadic tribes. However, the acuteness of the festival's vision and its commitment also makes it disadvantage in another way, because there are few films made on the denotified tribes, nomads or gypsies. However, the acuteness of the festival's vision and its commitment also makes it disadvantaged in another way, because there are few films made on the denotified tribes, nomads or gypsies. Very few films are made. How much films are required? That many films were not made. Only very very few films are made, which shows that there is some sort of stigma. The people are also uninterested to make such films. So the films, in spite of having a film festival, the films which are coming up are very very few. If anybody have anthropology optional, they can use this particular thing. So everyone, I pursued my MA anthropology. So right now pursuing PhD. Anthropology optional is going on in UPSC. Anthropology optional of UPSC is going on Unacademy Plus. Unacademy Plus platform. Apart from this, I am also teaching governance. I am also teaching current affairs. I am also teaching altogether a optional, full optional subject of anthropology. There is no teacher-student model in my classes. Matured international model of lectures, friendly and two-way interactive classes will be there, my dear. Proper class notes will be given, and my student possess all rights to ask me any question at any point of time. So, anthropologies and governance and current affairs will be dealt by me. So, there is a scheme for you if you use my referral code VISU1437. If you use my referral code VISU1437, you are going to get 10% of discount. For example, if you are enrolling for 1 year, the fees Unacademy charges is 40,000. But if you use my referral code VISU1437, you will get 4,000 discount, means 10% discount, only 36% you need to pay. And from this, the 36% GST is only 18%. So Unacademy is going to get only 30,000. So use my referral code and get the advantage. Use my referral code and get the advantage, and my referral code is what? VISU1437. Who are denotified tribes? The term denotified and nomadic tribes can be traced to the Criminal Tribes Act of 1871. So the term denotified and nomadic tribes can be traced back to the Criminal Tribes Act 1871. The colonial government, the British Indian government, notified nearly 200 tribal communities to be hereditary criminals and subjecting them to constant harassment by the administration. Hereditary means by birth, by default, these people will be considered as criminals. After India gained independence, these tribes were denotified from the list of criminal tribes, and hence the term was being removed. The Criminal Tribes Act was repealed and the Habitual Offenders Act was enacted in various states. Given their centuries old tradition of constant movement, they often do not possess any residential proof, which leaves them out of the majority of the government schemes because of their migratory living. They will not come under the ambit of any of the state. Hence, they are not getting any government developmental schemes. This is the major problem of denotified and nomadic tribal community. Okay. So this is very very important. What is the festival name called as Nomad Film Festival? In order to make films on nomadic tribal community, denotified tribal community, so that their plight, their life conditions will be telecasted across the globe. so that the people will come to know about their problems. In this particular process, we understood who are denotified tribes. Criminal Tribes Act, Habitual Offenders Act, still there is narrative, still there is stigma. That narratives and stigmas need to be addressed by the proper films. But the negative thing is still, in spite of having a nomad film festival, there is no such films are made on the nomadic tribal communities. Only few, one or two films are coming up. इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में कौन सी बात है हम पढ़ेंगे अभी क्या है इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में कौन सी चीज है इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में दिस ऑल थिंग्स आई विल बी डिस्कसिंग नाउ सब्सटेंस अक्रॉस द अरेबियन सी the broad parameters of India's Middle East policy were largely in place when Modi was elected in 2014. In the current context, India Look West policy, which is now renamed as Link West policy, has three main axes: Israel, Iran, and Arab Gulf countries. So once upon a time we used to have Look West, then we have Look East, then we have Act East. Now we are moving towards, now we are changing our Look West to Link West with three countries. We are linking with the three countries. What are the three countries? Means Israel, Iran, and Gulf countries. So we are trying to have a proper linkage with this particular three Western countries: Israel, Iran, and the Gulf countries. In the case of Israel, India's relationship had historically been cool with Israel. We had a very good relationship with Israel. During the Cold War, India had stood publicly with Arab states and the Palestinian nationalist struggle. Domestic considerations were important here. They included Arab states' support for their management of the Muslim majority Jammu and Kashmir and efforts to placate its sizable Muslim minority. In spite of it, when we had a very good relationship, yeah, yes. Yes, that is, yes, the Kaki movie. There is one particular movie, Kaki, in Tamil as well as in Telugu. In that particular movie, there is criminal tribes, denotified tribal communities are there. Israel, we had a very good relationship, but because in order to appease the Muslim community, we went in support of Palestine. We went against the Israel. That is the only harsh reality between the India and Israel. If not, there is no blockade between the India and Israel. Over time, both of these considerations became less relevant. Growing Arab-Israel dialogue during the 1900s and Oslo peace process between Israel and the Palestinians diminished that conflict centrality in the region and among Indian Muslims. In addition, India had to contend with increasingly critical resolutions against India's rule of Jammu and Kashmir from the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which included a number of Muslim Arab states and Iran and India. As with Israel, India's relation with Iran contain both a national security and an economic dimension. Indian policymakers see relations with Iran not only as a key energy supplier but as a way to contribute to enhancing India's security in Central and South Asia. By containing India's main rival, Pakistan, India is seeing uh, Iran not just as an energy security provider, not just in the front of economy. It is also seen in physical security point of view. In order to curtail, in order to contain, in order to control the Pakistan, the best way to control the Pakistan is by choosing the way of Iran. That's why we had a very good pipeline called as IPI, but which has been stalled now. Iran, Pakistan, India pipeline. But it is not functionalized because of the Pakistan. Direct pipeline. Direct pipeline. India to Iran. Here it is Pakistan. There it is Iran. For Iran and India alike, the path to constraining Pakistan lies through Afghanistan, which has become a base for militant groups whose threats transcend the country's border. India and Iran first agreed to cooperate on the development of trade and transport links to Central Asia and channel them towards Iran's Chabahar port on the Indian Ocean in 2003. The development of Chabahar port and its associated infrastructure is beneficial for India in two main ways. One is that it will make it easier to access oil imports from Iran. Another is that it may balance Chinese trade and development projects in Central Asia and the Middle East, which are associated with Belt and Road Initiative. One Belt and One Road or Belt and Road Initiative. So in two ways it is useful. One way it is useful for the sake of oil imports and second way it is used to balance the Chinese trade. Why? Because China is constructing the harbors, ports in Middle East as well as in Central Asia. Now we are going to control the China by constructing Chabar port in Iran. Then what is the way forward? Setting up of a bilateral strategic partnership council to be co-chaired by the Indian Prime Minister and the Saudi Crown Prince is a defining development. The Strategic Partnership Council would be a permanent bilateral platform with the two vertical jointly exercised by the two foreign and trade and industry ministers. Among the potential areas for next stage of bilateral cooperation would be greater bilateral synergy in Indian infrastructure, agriculture, startups, skilling and IT. Shifting some labor-intensive establishments from Saudi Arabia to India would serve the respective national priorities by reducing the kingdom's expatriate population and boosting Make in India. So we had a very good strategic partnership council between India and Saudi Arabia, whereby the two members are present, Indian Prime Minister as well as Saudi Prince. Both are working hand in hand for the better relationship between the Saudi and India. Such a sort of strategic partnership council is also required for Israel and Iran. That is the way forward. In that way, when you are writing an exam, you have to take the point q from one of the relationship and you have to link with the another country. In this way we had a relationship with Israel. The same sort of relationship we can extend to Iraq. In this way we had a relationship with Iran. Same way we can extend to Oman. In this way we had a very good relationship with Saudi Arabia. We can extend the same relationship with Qatar. Like the taking the example and we are applying, we should apply taking the example and we should. Now we had a strategic partnership council with Saudi. Harita, Aradhya, have you understood up to now? Yes. Polity and governance. It covers broadly six areas including demographic indicators, socio-economic indicators, health status indicators, health financing, human resource for health sector, health infrastructure. These are very, it covers broadly six areas: demographic indicators, socio-economic indicators, health status indicators, health financing, human resource for health sector, and health infrastructure. The six are present. Epidemiological transition towards national communicable division, national communicable diseases. India is witnessing an epidemiological transition where non-communicable diseases dominate over communicable in the total disease burden of the country. So what is dominating? The non-communicable, once upon a time communicable disease, that means which can transfer from one person to other person. That disease is shifting towards non-communicable disease. So non-communicable disease is becoming more dominant when compared to communicable disease. The disease burden from non-communicable disease increased from 30% to 55% from 1990 to 2016, and 62% mortality is due to non-communicable disease. So 60%, 62% of the mortality is due to non-communicable disease. So there is a very big paradigm shift, epidemiological transition towards non-communicable disease. What are non-communicable disease? Heart disease is the leading cause of death in India, followed by cancer. Well, heart disease has increased by 50% in the last 25 years. India accounts of 1 by 3rd cancer cases in the world. 1 by 3rd of the cancer cases in the world belongs to India. Non-communicable disease. Type 2 diabetes is India's fastest growing disease with 73 million in 2017. Mortality due to diabetes stood at 254,500. That means 2,54,500 in 2017. What about communicable disease? Acute respiratory infections is the leading communicable disease causing morbidity, followed by acute diarrheal disease, typhoid, tuberculosis. Suddenly they will get. Leading communicable disease causing mortality are pneumonia, acute respiratory infections, acute diarrheal disease, H1N1, acute encephalitis syndrome, viral hepatitis, encephalitis, and typhoid. These are all the communicable diseases. About communicable disease. Very, very important. Sex ratio improves in country, birth and death rates dip. So we are going towards what? Total fertility rate. Our population is going to decrease. Why? Because death rate is decreasing as well as birth rate is decreasing. So there is epidemiological transition. There is epidemiological transition from communicable disease to non-communicable disease. Reasons. The recent prison statistics India 2017 reported by NCRB flags the issue of high occupancy rate, more than 100% in 16 states. In this context, the news analysis attempts to cover prison reforms that are to be undertaken in India. The recent prison state statistics India 2017 report by NCRB flags the issue of high occupancy rate, more than 100%. In this context, the news analysis attempts to cover prison reforms that are to be so 100% occupancy is there. For example, if in one jail 600 prisoners can stay, then 600 prisoners are present. 100% occupancy is there. If that much people are present in prisons, there is need for reforms in prisons. No, if not, what will happen? Violation will be happen. Human rights violation will be happen. Discrimination will be having. Unhygienic will increase. Communicable disease will spread. Hence, there is need for proper prison reforms. The total number of prisoners in India stood at around 4.2 lakhs. According to the second ARC report on public order, this number of 4.2 lakh prisoners is lower as compared to other countries such as USA and China, both in terms of absolute numbers as well as percentage of the entire population. Yes, out of 130, we have only 4.2 lakhs. For them, how many it is? They had only 20 crores and more than 4.2 lakh people are there. That means more number of prisoners are there. Overcrowded jails. In spite of the lower prisoner population in terms of absolute numbers as well as the percentage, the Indian prisons are overcrowded. Why? Because number of prisons are less. The average occupancy rate of the Indian prisons is around 115% of their capacity. That is, Indian jails house 15% more number of prisoners as compared to their mandated capacity. For example, in one jail, 1,000 prisoners can stay, but there are how many are there? 1,150 prisoners are there. Overcrowded jails are there. So it should be properly reformed, no? If not, what will happen? Unhygienic conditions will prevail. Sanitary conditions will prevail. Communicable disease will spread. The overall occupancy rate of Indian prisons has decreased from 140% in 2007 to 115% in 2007. However, in spite of such decline, even today Indian prisons are overcrowded. But however, only some states such as Tamil Nadu have constructed more number of jails. Prisons. Tamil Nadu plays a very good role. Take the case study of Tamil Nadu and explain the prison reforms. So, any question on general essay on prisons reform? Why? Because it's a very, very important topic. Why? Because if you become IPS, you will be posted as a prisoner, you will be posted as a jailer. Then you need to know about the cramped prisons. CRB's prison statistics report 2017. High occupancy rate is there. Open prison should be encouraged. Implementation of recommendation of All India Jail Reforms Committee Mullah Committee must be done as soon as possible. All India Jail Reforms Committee Mullah Committee. National Prison Commission to oversee the modernization of the prisons in India need to be established according to the Mullah Committee. Putting a ban on clubbing together juvenile offenders with the hardened criminals in prisons and enacting a comprehensive and protective legislation for the security and protective care of delinquent juveniles, segregation of mentally ill prisoners to a mental asylum. So we need to remove the mentally ill people to the mental asylums so that the mental people will not be occupied with the well-being individual. putting a ban on clubbing together juvenile offenders with hardened criminals in prisons and enacting a comprehensive protective legislation for the security and protective care of the delinquent juveniles. Why? Because the juveniles need to be protected. So this is about prisons reform. What is the committee name? मुल्ला committee. Prelims में direct question आ जाएगा कि prisons के बारे में कौन सा committee constitute किया है government of India? And the answer is मुल्ला committee. All India Jail Reforms Committee. मुल्ला. So this is the topic today. This is the topic today. In the next class, I will be completing the electoral bonds के बारे में. ये सब I will be doing in the next class. ठीक है? So use my referral code VISU1437 for anthropology, for governance and current affairs related topics. And I am signing off. My name is Vishnu Vardhan. Thank you.